Greetings, hope you're doing well. Today I'm doing a quick review of the new Deftones album titled Ohms. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoy the video. I have very little history or knowledge of Deftones since I was more into nu metal bands like Disturbed and Avenged Sevenfold and other nu metal hard rock bands that were featured in Guitar Hero when I was little. And The Metal by Tenacious D is the best Guitar Hero song ever. Don't at me. But once I began to find more music and artists to listen to as I grew older, Deftones kind of slipped out of my mind, and in turn I don't really have that relationship with them like a lot of their fan base do. Fast forward to now, I thought Ohms would be a good way to reintroduce myself to the band and see why they're such a valued commodity in nu metal. And the end result is kind of a mixed bag for me. I thought the opener Genesis was fantastic. I love the genty guitars and thick background layers, not to mention Chino's delivery seamlessly going from screaming to more melodic passages. The outro of the track has a great payoff for the long build-up as well. And this track had me really excited to hear the rest of the album. But what I experienced afterwards was an album whose track list felt like they were deviations of each other rather than their own songs. A lot of the tracks share similar qualities to one another, like the guitar layerings and melodic structures, and that is because I feel like the band were trying to make this an incredibly cohesive experience, so when you come back to it, you aren't picking out songs to listen to, you're going to listen to the entire album again. And I can respect that sense of ambition. Some of the track transitions flawlessly, like from the sci-fi ending of POMPEJI to the opening of The Link is Dead. It is Blade Runner-esque with the widening synthesizers and blizzarding atmosphere that motion to an industrial punk sound, Chino just screeching my ears off, which I thought worked well in its favor. While I'm on this note, some of the other tracks that stood out to me included URANTIA. The latter half of this track had a gothic metal appeal with the forlorn vocals that I really came to like. I thought the track Error was solid as well. The sonic dichotomy on the track The Spell of Mathematics was really cool. The first half features this bludgeoning core groove with a frizzling gradient, while the second half slows the tempo and aggressiveness way down. And I really like Headless. The vocal melodies on this track are the strongest on the entire album in my opinion. So while I liked a little over half the record, the remaining slew tracks just did not appeal to me whatsoever. Coming off of Genesis, the track Ceremony tries to retain that primordial anger that precedes it, but it doesn't have its own ideas. Chino's vocals, when they're not mixed into the background, sound really sloppy. It ends up being a really weak follow-up. I mentioned POMPEJI before for its cool outro transition into The Link is Dead, but the preceding chord-based instrumental just had me hoping for something to eventually happen, and as cool as the sound shift into the sci-fi synth was, I view that more as its own entity than a valid progression. Radiant City starts off with a cool riff idea in the first moments of the track. It's very dirty, very gritty, but abandons it for the sound I have already heard numerous times on this album up to this point. Same goes for the title track Closer. It lacks its own identity at this point of the record. Overall, I enjoyed listening to the album. I'm not crazy about it, but there are some qualities about it I enjoyed. I just think the album tends to homogenize itself a bit too much for its own good, so some moments and some tracks just don't hit as hard for me. But I do recommend this to you if you want some atmospheric nu metal, or if you are a big Deftones fan. I think you will be pleased with what they have to offer on this record. If you heard it, what did you think of it? Let me know down below, and I will leave it at that. I'd give it a